Hi friends, welcome to Top Scholar, the smart learning app. We are back again with another question paper to solve together so that it can be better preparation technique for your upcoming board examination, which I'm sure you must be all braced up for. So let's get started, and first let's take a look at how you can take maximum advantage from this chapter by discussing the marking system. So let's get started. So we have here question papers from 2019 to 2023, that is last 5 years question papers, and we will be discussing how many marks you can actually gain by just going through the questions discussed in this session. So let's see, we have the marks from 1 to 5 marks. So it is 1 mark, 2 marks, 3 marks and 5 marks. Now if we can see that in 2019, if we just talk about 1 mark question, then we had 1 question in 2019 and 2 questions in 22 and 2 questions in 23. So we have picked up total 5 questions which can get you 5 marks. Now if we go to 2 marks question, we have 1 question from 21, 1 from 22 and 1 from 23. So we have been able to extract 3 questions from this chapter in last 5 years, and that can get you total of 6 marks. Now let's move on to 3 marks question. So now we can see that we have 1 question which was asked for 3 marks in 2020, 1 in 23. So we just got 2 questions, but we are getting 6 marks. Now the 5 marks question, that is our maximum marking here, and we can see that we had 1 question in 2019, 1 in 2020, 1 in 21. So we have 3 questions, but see here, we are able to get 15 marks out of it. So if we see the graphical representation, so we can see that we had maximum question from this chapter in the year 23, that is last year, and also we had about 3 questions in 22. So last 2 years at least we have had quite a number of questions from this chapter, and that too, see, in 2023 we had more of 1 mark question and then 3 mark question and 2 mark question. So that is actually counting a lot of question in this. And then in 2019, 20, 21 we have had consistently 5 mark questions, right? So therefore, we can say that this is a pretty important chapter because every year we are able to secure quite enough marks from this chapter, right? So we cannot definitely ignore this chapter, and we have to be thoroughly prepared to answer questions from this chapter. So let's start our practice. Let's see what questions were asked and try to solve it together. Now, let's first start with the year 2019, right? So here the first question we have is a MCQ type question carrying 1 mark. The question is, it is an MCQ, so we have 4 options given for this question. In a food chain, autotrophic plants are present at a dash level. So this is a very simple basic question. We need to know the different levels of the food chain, and based on that we will be able to answer the question. And autotrophic plants that are able to prepare their food on their own, so they are basically doing what? They are producing their food. So they are the producers. So the correct answer is C, the producers, right? Now let's move on to the next question. So again, this question was asked in 2019 and it is a 5 mark question. This is a long answer question, and if you can see, it is no big deal. This is divided into 2 groups. So the first one is identify the following symbols and state their significance, right? So these are 2 symbols given here, and if you can see that the first sub question A has 2 marks And the second question, that is, how can biodiversity be conserved? It carries 3 marks. So this 5 mark is divided into 2 sub-questions. The first question, which is 2-mark question, is relatively very easy. We just have to identify the symbols and state their significance. So if you can see here, the first one and the second one, it's very easy. First one, it says conserve water, very clear with the symbol itself, and there is a bicycle. What does that mean? So maybe it is about reducing the pollution by using bicycles and such travel options which actually are beneficial for the earth, for our planet, to reduce the pollution. Is that so? We will verify that in subsequent slide when we are going to discuss these questions in detail. So for now, let's park this question and let's move on to the next question. Now, we are going to the next year, that is 2020. So here, the first question that we are going to discuss is a short answer question carrying 3 marks, right? So now here, what do we have to do? We have to complete the following chart. So there is this in the center written effects of radioactive pollution, and there are 4 boxes empty given to you. So you have to just mention some of the examples or some of the effects of radioactive pollution. It can be the chronic diseases, it can be genetic mutation, it can be land pollution, and different sorts of pollution effect that is being seen in our living environment, in our crops production, etc., etc. Right? So it is as simple as that. Now let's move on to the next question, which is also asked in 2020. Now this is a 5-mark question. If you remember, we had 3 questions consecutive year 2019, 20 and 21, which all had a 5-mark question from this chapter, which is quite a big amount of marks that you are able to score from this chapter, right? So this is a 5-mark question which was asked in 2020. So the question here is, attempts at various levels are performed to conserve the environment. Which role would you like to perform? Give 2 actions for each. Now what are these actions? Which are the roles that are given? That is, one is prevention, another is control, production, awareness and conservation. So what you have to do is that you know that there are attempts performed at different levels. There are attempts of prevention, control, there are attempts of production, then awareness and conservation. So you have to discuss here that which role would you like to perform and why, and what is the significance, what are the different activities you can do under these levels. So we will discuss this further in detail in our upcoming slide, where we'll be discussing these long answer questions in detail and try to help you prepare better. So let's move on now to the next question and the next year, that is 2021. Here we have one short answer question and, as you know and expected, a long answer question of 5 marks. So we have 7-mark question here in the year 2021. So the first question of 2 marks is, describe any 2 animals of endangered species. Just 2 animals and you have your 2 marks, right? So there are so many animals. There is red panda, there are the Asiatic elephants, right? So these are all endangered species and there are many more such examples in your book. You do refer to that and you can name any 2 such animals which are of endangered species, which are classified as endangered species, and there you have your 2 marks. Then the 5-mark question, what are the 3 endangered heritage places in India? Mention 2 measures you will take to protect this with reasons. So there are endangered heritage places. Our Western Ghats is one of them, right? So there are such many places which are classified and which are known to us as the endangered heritage places. So what are the measures that has been taken to preserve those heritage places, that we have to write? Again, since it's a 5-mark question, it's an important question, we will definitely discuss it in further detail. Okay, so for now, let's move on to the next year, that is our 2022. Now, Here we have one MCQ and one very short answer. So 1 mark each, right? So the first question, let's see, giant squirrel is an example of dash threatened species. Is it A, endangered, B, rare, C, vulnerable, or D, indeterminate? Which one is the answer? So we have to remember these classifications thoroughly, because such kind of questions has been asked repeatedly, as you can see, right? Even if it is an MCQ, this MCQ type question, getting the correct answer from all these options can get you 1 marks, and as we say that every mark counts, right? So here the answer here is indeterminate, right? Now second question, complete the correlation. Western Ghat, Asiatic lions, Sundarban sanctuary. So what is this heritage endangered place protecting? What is the most important animal species that is known to be present in Sundarban sanctuary? Is that Royal Bengal tiger? Yes, that is, right? So Western Ghat, Asiatic lion, Sundarban sanctuary is Royal Bengal tiger, right? Now let's move on to the next question, that is also from 22. Now this is a 2 marks question. It's a short answer type question. What do we learn from the story of Jadav Molai Payeng? Okay, so we have had a very short and sweet description of how this person took the responsibility to turn a barren land into a very beautiful green forest, right? So this person teaches us how determination, how hard work, and how being focused or determined to do and achieve something can take us a long way, and it has to have a good intent as well, right? So we learn a lot of things from the story of Jadav Molai Payeng, right? So you have to write it in a very short format about what we actually learn. It can be your perspective, and it has been the way it is. You have to tell like what is the actual message of the story and what do you learn from it. Now let's move on to the next year, that is our last year, 2023. Now again, the question here is an MCQ type question, 1 mark question, and it has 4 options. Question goes, the apex consumer is dash among the 4 options: A, eagle, B, frog, C, snake, or D, grasshopper. Grasshopper, of course not. Grasshopper is eaten by frog, frog is eaten by snake, and then snake is eaten by eagle, right? So in the food chain, we know that the apex consumer here is the eagle. So the correct answer is A, eagle. Next, we move on to the question again in 2023. Also a 1 mark question. Now here you have to remember all the acts along with the year it was formed, it was placed at. So the first which is given is Forest Conservation Act in 1986, and you have 2 more years given, and in front of that there is a blank space. You have to mention which act was brought into place in those years, right? Now next question is from again 2023. These are short answer type question, but one carries 2 marks and one carries 3 marks. So the first question that we are going to discuss is write a short note on environmental conservation. And the second question, write the factors affecting the environment, right? So these are kind of a very similar kind of question. So you need to understand what is the meaning of environmental conservation and what are the factors that affects the environment, and then depending on that you can also answer how we can conserve our environment, right? So we will be discussing few of this in our upcoming slides. So let's see. So here the first question that we are going to discuss is this one: identify the following symbols and state their significance. We have tried to answer the identifying question in our previous slide when we were discussing the question, and the B is how can biodiversity be conserved. This we had parked for later. So let's see if whatever we had identified was correct, and also look at the answer for B. Now the solution is, so for the 1 and 2, so for 1 it is save water, and for 2 use cycle to reduce automobile pollution. So we were correct about that. Now the second part, the B, ways for biodiversity conservation. Now if you remember, in 2023 also this question was repeated. So this is a very important question as far as your examination is concerned, right? So now let's see. So ways for biodiversity conservation: plant more trees, or we can also call it a afforestation. Second, prohibit deforestation. So plant more trees and stop cutting trees, right? Then reduce pollution. Then use renewable sources of energy. What are renewable sources of energy? They don't cause more pollution. They can be used again and again. It is inexhaustible and it can be used for a very long time without creating pollution, right? Minimize use of non-renewable source of energy. As simple as that. If you want to increase the use of renewable resources of energy, then you have to decrease the use of non-renewable sources of energy. Then let's move on to the next question that we are going to discuss here. Attempts of various levels are performed to conserve the environment. Which role would you like to perform? Give 2 actions for each. So these are the various levels at which the conservation of environment is being performed. So under this, what activities can be performed to help this conservation activity much better? So here we have given the levels, that is A, prevention, B, control, C, production, D, awareness, and E, conservation. So let's see what we can do. So one can take up the role of spreading awareness, as it is crucial for conservation of the environment. By doing so, the mindset of people could be changed, incorporating a sense of responsibility towards environmental conservation. So we might not be able to do much in our own capacity, but this particular thing, spreading awareness, is by the word of people to people, right? At least that much we can do. We can spread the words of how things needs to be, our environment is important to us, what are the resources we get from our environment, and how we need to conserve it for our benefit as well as for our future generation. So spreading awareness is very crucial role which we can take up as students as well. By doing so, the mindset of people could be changed, and which can incorporate a sense of responsibility towards environmental conservation. So little steps can take you a long way. Then we will have the different levels at which certain types of activities can be done. So prevention. What is prevention? Refrain from using plastic products. That can be done for conservation of our environment. Then switch off the appliances when not in use. That is going to save the unnecessary wastage of electricity or energy. Then control. Under control, it is usage of water and fuels in limited required quantity. And then not littering garbage in public places with proper disposal, right? These are all control measures. Then we have production. So what can we do under production? Paper bags could be made from newspapers for daily use. Promote tree plantation, right? That is afforestation. So planting more trees, that comes under production. That also can be done for the conservation of environment. Making posters denoting the importance of environmental conservation and showing the ill effects of harming our environment. This also is going to help in the spreading of awareness towards the environmental conservation. Then awareness, right? So this is also a part of, this is like the background work which we can do, which we can produce to spread awareness. Now, what else comes under awareness? Awareness could be spread by participating in various activities, promoting discussions for environmental conservation, and then conservation, then the actual conservation. Protect plants and animals in the locality, right? And then conserve available resources. So this is how we can actually do the conservation activity, right? Now, let's move on to the next question. That is also a 5-mark question, very important from the exam point of view. What are the 3 endangered heritage places in India? Mention 2 measures you will take to protect this with reasons. Okay, so let's see what are the heritage places, some of the heritage places which are endangered, and what measures can be taken to protect. Okay, so the 3 endangered heritage places in India are Western Ghats, spread across the state of Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Then, endangered due to the mining industry and the quest for natural resources, thus the habitats of animals like Asiatic lions, wild bison, and these animals are now under the threat of extinction, which is very dangerous, right? So, if we lose these natural resources which was given to us by nature, these will be extinct and we will only be able to see them in books like we do for a lot of other animals. So, that is the reason why these places need to be protected to save these natural resources. Now, what else? Then there is Manas National Park, Assam. Okay, so this is another heritage place which is endangered. And what are the animals or which are the natural resources which are endangered here? Tigers and rhinos which are living here are under threat due to human activities like construction of dams and the indiscriminate use of water, right? So, this is causing the danger. The reason why these animal species are endangered is because of such human activities. Now, next is Sundarban National Park, West Bengal. So, who are under the threat of being endangered here? Reserved for tigers. So, this place is reserved for tigers. There is this specific species of tiger, Royal Bengal tiger, which are found in Sundarban National Park, West Bengal, and they are endangered. So, the tiger population and overall local environment are challenged by dams, deforestation, excessive fishing, digging of trenches, etc. So, because of these activities, the Bengal tigers are endangered here. Okay. Now, the measures to protect endangered heritage. So, now we know that what are the activities that is causing the threats to the resources, the animals there, and that is the reason why conservation is important. So, now what are the measures to protect endangered heritage here? People should be made aware of the endangered species present in their nearby area. So, teaching our friends and family about the diversity of living organisms like birds, fishes, plants and wildlife is the first step in protecting them. So, the first step is making people aware about what we have, the importance of that resources and what will happen if we lose them. So, once people are aware about that fact, they will get into the mindset of protecting those resources, right? Water is a basic necessity for all life forms. Hence, we should not waste it. Reducing our water consumption will lead to ultimate water conservation, right? So, just like how we said that every marks count, so every drop of water also counts, right? So, by reducing our water consumption or water wastage, or we can recycle our water so that we don't use too much of water which is unnecessary for us, we can save the overall quantity of water which is also limited, right? So, I hope you understood how to answer and approach these questions from this particular chapter, and I am very sure you will do absolutely well. Thank you.